Welcome to the next to last WorldView for this school year. My name is Alicia.
And my name's Rick. Our lead story takes place in Ukraine. On Sunday, Ukraine officials freed 67 pro-Russian protesters who had been taken into custody for participating in violent clashes. They were freed after the police headquarters in Odessa was stormed by other pro-Russian protesters who demolished gates, broke windows, and demanded the prisoners be let go. This was one of many recent efforts by Ukrainians who want their country to be annexed by Russia.
For the first time since 2011, when U.S. withdrew their forces, Iraqis voted in a nationwide election. More than 12 million people were brave enough to go to the polls. At least 7 people were killed in attacks targeting voting places. Last Wednesday, a suicide bomber targeted a polling station. Terrorists had announced that the elections would not take place, and they would threaten the Iraqi citizens whoever challenged them.
From London to Los Angeles, there have been protests against the abduction of 234 girls from a school in Nigeria. These girls were abducted by the terrorist group Boko Haram in Nigeria. Many believe the government is not doing enough to rescue the girls. The demand for their return has caught the whole world's attention. Nicole Lee, president of Trans Africa, said, "Can you imagine if 234 girls were abducted from their school in Paris or in Chicago? This would be a nightmare. This would be an uproar. People would care, people would take action, and we would want the same for the girls in Nigeria."
On Saturday, government troops in South Sudan, Africa, launched a counter-offensive against rebel forces to regain 2 important northern towns. The rebels were defeated and the towns regained. Government forces are now looking for fleeing rebels near the border of Ethiopia. More than 25,000 people have been displaced by the fighting in South Sudan and are being sheltered by the United Nations. Last month, when one of the towns was invaded, hundreds of civilians were slaughtered by the rebels in churches and schools where they had sought refuge.
In Egypt, a spiritual leader of the Muslim Brotherhood and 682 of his followers will be put to death for involvement in a riot last year, which resulted in the death of a police officer. The trial has been widely referred to as a sham. The spiritual leader called for a non-violent protest and wasn't even in town when the riots occurred. In March, 500 people were put to death for the same offense by the same judge. Western governments are calling the verdicts an outrage. A U.S. congressman has said he would block the release of $650 million worth of U.S. military, and because Egypt was now a dictatorship run amok.
Sunday, a passenger train connecting 2 villages in western India wrecked, killing 18 people and injuring 25. After emerging from a tunnel near one of the villages, the engine and 25 of the passenger cars derailed. Trains are a major form of transportation in India, and it is not uncommon to find 500 passengers on one train.
The Eastern Asian country of Brunei became the first to adopt Sharia law. These are ancient Islamic criminal law principles and include punishments such as flogging, dismemberment, and death by stoning for rape, adultery, sodomy, and other similar crimes. Amnesty International, a human rights group, said this change in the law will take the country back to the Dark Ages.
In Vatican City, the Vatican Commission advising Pope Francis on sexual abuse policy has announced that it will develop clear and effective protocols to protect children from pedophile priests. The protocols will address everyone regardless of their status in the church, said Cardinal Sean O'Malley. Pope Francis announced last December the creation of the commission, which includes clergy and lay persons.
New studies suggest that e-cigarettes can cause cancer. It is a popular belief that they do not contain carcinogens and therefore do not pose a danger. That is false. The vapor is laced with nicotine and many carcinogens. The FDA is behind the testing and regulation of these devices. By the time the FDA has tested one, another is already on the market. If I was in a torture chamber and you said I had to puff on something, I choose an e-cigarette over a regular cigarette. An expert said, but if you said I could choose an e-cigarette or clean air, I definitely choose clean air.
A deadly virus known as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or MARS, has been identified for the first time in a case in America. A healthcare provider from Indiana traveled to Saudi Arabia, where he most likely caught the disease. The infected man has been quarantined. Experts say that the virus doesn't spread easily. It was discovered in 2012, and since then, there have been 262 cases confirmed nationwide. Here is Sean with our service.
Most service projects are winding down for the year, but if you still need service points, check the board outside the 9th grade lounge for service needs at May Frolics and upcoming opportunities.
That's WorldView for this week. Thanks everyone for watching.
We hope that you have a fun and safe weekend. Goodbye from the entire crew.